Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Man, it's getting late, isn't it? It's getting late, and I'm not even showing up to my own stream here on time quite yet. 5 minutes late again, once again. Man, another busy week, another crazy Friday. Lots of stuff going on at the shop where I work, and then trying to get in, do a story before I go live. Wow. Okay, just blowing it out of the park here. But thanks for everybody for waiting as I brought the stream to live status. So I guess a few people, that was too much to wait for. I saw numbers coming down. It's all good. It's all good. Hey, chat, why don't you come on over here? Where are you, chat? Where have you gone? What's happening here? Where did the chat go? What happened? I had the chat going and it looks like something went wrong. Let me try to fix that. I'm gonna get on that. Holy cow, this is what happens when you are really struggling to get things going, or really struggling to make it all happen. How can we make this work once again? Is this gonna work now? Let's see. Let's see if this works. Come on. No, it's not working. It's not working for me. What is going on? What is happening? Okay, well, I'm gonna have to try some other things here to make this work. Chat, come on. Where are you? I see you there. Why are you not coming in here? Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Oh, there you are. There you are. Windows updating on me and making everything different. Making everything not work the same, quite the same as it normally does. Why is that doing that? Oh goodness. This is just gonna be a fantastic stream. I can tell it's already getting off without a hitch. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody to the Friday night live stream. If you're new to the channel, this is when I try to give back to the community. I'm busy, eyes on the ball like always, and doing these videos. I work every day as well, so I do 2 videos usually every day of the week on the weekdays, and then on Friday I like to do a live stream where we can talk about some of the things and we can discuss some things in further detail you can't cover in a 10 to 15 minute video. Chat was playing hide and seek like our taxes. Yeah, that's right. Northern Perspective, of course, in the show tonight. That'll be a little bit later on. The chat's over here. Why is the chat over there? Is it working now? It's working now. Why you gotta be like that, chat? Come on. Anyway, Northern Perspective will be in the show a little bit later. We're gonna try to get them in. If you're Eastern time, it's gonna be 10:30. If you're Pacific time, that will be 7:30. But we're gonna get going on this stuff here tonight. Nux for Cup with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Now Clyde knows all the things we say when people don't come in on time. Chat is late too. Oh, that's funny. That is funny. Yeah, I was late. Late again to my own show. How does that happen? How actually does that happen? But hey, thanks everybody. And hi to everybody in the chat. Quick roll call for everybody out there. Where is it that you're viewing this from? And yeah, let me know where you are you getting a discount on your carbon taxes? Let's put that in the chat. Are you getting a discount on your carbon tax? And where is it that you're from? Obviously, if you're from Nova Scotia, you'll be getting your discount on carbon taxes when it comes to home heating, but only if you use the old school oil heat, which is still a thing here in Canada. I still remember like living in Northern Ontario and homes being heated by oil. I mean, it's a thing. A lot of people doing that. We've got, okay, look at all those places. Sudbury, Ontario, I lived there before and I had oil heating when I lived there. That was a thing, not just for people in Nova Scotia, but when you typically vote Liberal and it looks like you're going to change your mind, the Liberals will come in and change their mind about the taxes that they impose on you. This is something that's just unbelievable to see. I mean, we all know it happens, but watching it actually go down in real time, to have liberals, as they do, or NDP, Bloc Québécois, we watch them do it too. I don't know. Do the conservatives do it? Let's see. Only time will tell. But when they see that they're raising taxes on everybody, they're making everybody hurt, and then when it looks like somebody, a demographic that normally votes for them, is not happy with it, they go, ooh, we're going to listen to our constituents when it comes to this. Not across the rest of Canada. No, you won't. Not across the rest of Canada. No, you're not going to go Western Canada. That's for sure. No, you're just going to go with those particular constituents and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you a deal. I'm going to give you a deal of a lifetime. You know all that money I was stealing from you? I'm going to steal a little bit less of that. How about that? How about them apples? That's a thing. Hi, Clyde, watching from Oyama. Oyama, like Big Mountain? Is that in Japan? Is that a place? Let me know. Yeah, a lot of people all over the place thinking an election coming. Questions? Well, the politicians sure are behaving like that, aren't they? They are behaving like that. I don't see it. Northern Perspective, they've been telling me there's an election coming. We'll discuss it tonight. Make sure you're watching at 10:30 as they come in. If you're on the eastern side of things, if you're on the west coast, it's 7:30. They'll be joining me tonight. Oyama, BC, between Kelowna and Vernon. Oh, okay, I didn't know there was a place called Oyama. Is that? It's funny. Okay, so in Japanese, if you say Oyama, so like that would translate to big mountain. Is there a Japanese community there? Is that why they call it that? That's interesting. Or just, well, Oyama could just be like also a polite way of saying mountain, but the kanji for that also is pronounced san. Yo mama. Yo ma. Am I reading it wrong? No, it's Oyama. Yo-Yo-Ma. Oyama is just north of Lake Country. Oh, okay. I don't think I've been to that part of British Columbia before. I don't think Jughead will force an election. He'll do everything he can to not do that, but there may be some. In the U.S. they call it gerrymandering, but in Canada I forget the term for it. But it's when the demographic lines change. So if an area becomes more populated, more dense, then to make voting fair, they gotta draw lines in the middle of places and change where the ridings are. And because of that, when they change where the ridings are, it changes who has seats where. And it's in Canada, it's not a thing where they sit down and they choose the lines. It's an automated process. I think Cypher and Fox, they'll be on later from Northern Perspective. They're very good at explaining this, so we can get into that. You got to visit the Okanagan, Clyde. More Clyde. So gorgeous, all the way up down the lakes. So I want to go check out the desert region in British Columbia. I've seen pictures. It looks beautiful. I'd love to go check it out. There, that's redlining. Is that what it's called? Redlining? Yeah, in the U.S. they call it gerrymandering, but it's the demographic change and how that works. Chatham, Ontario apples. I've been to Chatham. I love Chatham. I had a friend, long-time friend, who had a cabin out there in Erie, just outside of Chatham. It's great. Osoyoos region. That I hear is beautiful country as well. Amazing stuff. Look at all the. I like this little feature. It just goes nuts when everybody's watching. It's fun. I like that thing. That's a new thing recently. Censored? I don't know if anything has been censored lately. I know I had a warning on YouTube from almost 2 years ago. And it looks like that warning is going to be gone in another 90 days. They gave me a chance to atone for it and do a community guidelines test, taking a test. It was a bit of re-education. Interesting thing that was. But yeah, the warning will be gone. I've never had a strike on the channel, but I did get a warning for covering a news release of Pfizer, and when they released papers that the court made them release. I talked about it, and I got spanked by the community guidelines. So that's a thing. What up with the censoring in the chat? Is there censoring in the chat? I don't see any censoring in the chat. I'm not seeing anything on my end. I always keep my chat open, but I don't know if YouTube has some. I have heard of this. I've heard of this of YouTube censoring certain things that people say. I can't confirm that, but this is why it's nice to have the chat up here. So if your comment doesn't go through, so here's the thing: if a moderator takes a comment down, you'll see that a moderator took the comment down. They're gonna re-education Clyde. Yeah, re-educated Clyde. Do something. I did something. I got re-educated. That's what a way to put it. What a way to put it. Chatbot doesn't like mean words, so I don't have a bot, but it might be a YouTube thing. I have no idea, but I have heard of that, where people's chats they don't show up in the chat, so because of that, I show the chat on the screen. It makes it so you don't just get like left on reply, you know what I mean? That kind of thing, where you're just kind of hanging there and nothing is said. You and Dr. Peterson, is that a thing on Peterson's chat? Nice part of side chat, you can tell if it's been deleted. That's right. That's right. So it's nice to have it up. It wasn't the reason why I put it up in the first place, but it turned out to be this handy thing that works actually during that. I repaid my CERB. Oh, I'm sorry you had to. Peter, that's terrible. So I've got a friend coming on next week. He's actually a Snap-on dealer. He's my Snap-on dealer. For people who don't know what Snap-on is a tool truck that goes to it's a large American company, but they franchise out the tool trucks. And my tool truck dealer, the guy that comes to my shop once a week to there's so many memes about the tool truck, there's that scary white van that grabs people and does awful things when you're in there. The Snap-on truck, pricey tools, absolutely, but some of them are necessary evil, right? You get the expensive ones because they're the ones that have a good warranty, and when you need it replaced, you can get that real quick. So the Snap-on dealer, he got, it's not called CERB, I forget what it's called, but it was a small business version of CERB, and he was smart enough to hang on to it, just hang on to it. And they kept saying, "Oh, you don't have to pay it back. Oh, you don't have to pay it back right away." It was like 40 grand, but you only pay back 30. Okay, in order to shut down for work. Anyway, Clyde has a dealer. Yeah, I got a dealer, and he's expensive. Holy cow! The things I gotta do. I'm just kidding. I don't owe any money to the Snap-on guy. It's nicer that way. We can be friendly. Yeah, I don't owe any money. But I know some people do. Wow, some people got to have the big box and the whole showy thing. No, I just get the tools that make sense. But it's funny too, because I don't, and I might be going on a bit of a side tangent here, but what is it? I always tell people I'm not very good at communism, and it has to do with tools, right? So if you work in a shop atmosphere, there are your main tools, like your hand tools, the things like that, impact guns, pneumatic tools, electric tools, these sort of things. Those are all the tools that you're required to supply for yourself. This is the thing that you do as a professional technician. I mean, you don't hire a carpenter and expect him not to have a saw. You know what I mean? You don't hire a plumber and expect him not to have a wrench. This kind of thing. But there are certain tools that are considered like shop tools that your employer should provide. And I've always had kind of a gray area relationship with those kinds of tools because, and again, I don't communism very well. This is a thing. I have a problem with the commons, and the reason why is because when there's no equity in a thing, obviously the shop owner has equity in it, but we're talking about other people's equity. Other people, this is like that equity and it's funny the diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff. They always use equity wrong. The equity means that you have a stake in something, and so therefore you're going to take care of it. Not that you get something. It's for no reason. It's because you have a stake in it, so you're going to take care of it. Now, this is a problem with the commons. We heard about this. The problem with the commons became a big issue back in the 1920s. We heard about the Dust Bowls. There's been other examples of the problems with commons. This tool thing is one of those, and here's the deal. The problem with the commons that led to the Dust Bowl, that was because cattle farmers, they were able to go to this common space and graze their cattle. So instead of grazing on their own land, they would automatically go to that first. That was the idea. I'm just going to go right to that area and graze their cattle. Now, what's the problem with that? Well, everybody's going to race over to that common area. They're going to do that first, and then they'll go to their own land. Because everybody's going to try to go to the common area. If you don't, you're going to lose out. So you better get to that common area before everybody else. Use up what's there, and then you go back to your own land, and then you can graze your own land. Well, what happened with that common area? Well, it got overgrazed. And overgrazing is when the cattle, they get there, they chew on the grass, and they don't move on. They haven't moved on because there's other people doing it and there's too many cattle in that area. So then they end up rooting up the grass roots, and then they eat that too. And then it dries out the soil, and it becomes a whole mess. The Dr. Alan Savory's actually been working really hard at reversing the effects of this. Anyway, let's get back to tools. So that's the problem with commons. I have this issue with tools where I go to use the ball joint press, for example, and the cup that I need for that particular vehicle is missing. I go to use the the ball bear, the bearing removal tool, the hub tamer, and the forcing screw's all shriveled and not. It doesn't work. It's stripped out. And then I can't do it. What are we doing here? What happens is people don't have equity in it, and they're afraid to admit that they broke it because they might get charged or something. Who knows, right? They just don't want to deal with it. So they just put it back broken, and then you go to use it, and then it's on you to wait until they can fix the tool, or you got to call into a shop and you got to borrow a thing. I'm just the guy who just goes, fool me once, shame on you. No, shame on me. Fool me twice. Fool me. You can't get fooled again, right? George Bush. So that's the idea here. Is I'll just buy my own stuff. So I have a different relationship with tools than most people, and that's why I spend my money on the actual tools instead of buying a fancy toolbox to keep a whole lot of nothing in. Does that make sense? Or using your impact gun before using a breaker bar. I use my impact gun all the time before using a breaker bar. I'm a pro. I know how many ugga-duggas it takes to loosen the Tootsie Pop. What is it? The get to the center. Yeah, yeah, no, I know the difference between using the hand tools and using the old ugga. That is definitely a thing. But why did we get on this rant? Oh yeah. Serb, and the thing that's going to be the thing for small businesses. Anyway, next week I'll be having the Snap-on Dave come on to the channel. He's going to talk about how the government is throwing him through a hoop for this 40 grand that they lent him, saying he was only going to have to pay back 30. And now they're telling him, after so many times of telling him, yes, you're approved, no problem, no problem, no problem, no problem. Now they're telling him, no, you got to pay it all back. It's really ruining a lot of small businesses that spent as much effort to make it through COVID on their own without having to use these things. And yeah, it's crazy. Use a snap off tool. yeah. Like Harbor Freight or Princess Auto, they call it here in Canada. Toolhead and proud. Yeah, okay. Well, there's a bunch of us. I'm a dork when it comes to tools. I'm the kind of technician that has his own scan tool. You know, like that's where I sit. Was the purpose to destroy small businesses, etc. Yeah, absolutely. It's deliberate. They baited struggling businesses into debt, and now they're pulling the rug from under their feet. Done it on purpose, I say. You're awfully dark, Clyde. Am I dark? Like, is the picture dark? Or is that a thing? Or did I get a tan? Am I looking? How's my complexion? I don't know. Am I awfully dark? That's the thing. Hi, Clyde from Sarnia, Ontario. I've been to Chemical Valley. Welcome, indeed. Clyde, you have a fish finder? Do you have a fish finder? No, I don't. You would think I would need a boat first. I don't have a boat. That's you're not dark. I'm dark. Lol, Mark. Okay, well, I know Dr. Seussing in the chat tonight. UBIs are coming apparently. Yes, and well, I'm gonna get into that. That's one of the topics I was thinking about talking about tonight as well. But next week I have Franco Terrazzano of the Taxpayer Federation coming on, and that's a specific thing that I wanted to talk about with him. So we can look forward to that, talking about UBI. They are trying to push this in Canada, Universal Basic Income, for people who don't know the acronym. It is essentially, the CERB was a test pilot project telling people that it is, when Clyde calls Sarnia by his nickname, you know, he's seen some stuff while there. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, CERB, the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, was a test run for UBI, and this isn't something that people. It's not some weird conspiracy theory. This is what people who advocate UBI claim that it was. Now, whether the politicians that passed it as that may or may not have been the case. Some people maybe were on board with it, and some people were not on board with that as the case. But it was a thing. It was a thing that the people that are advocating for UBI, Universal Basic Income, do cite that it was a test run, and they see it as a success. It's largely a failure. It's unbelievably onerous on the taxpayer. Vesper Design, thank you so much. Vesper Design doing something, joining as a member. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Apparently Guelph and Kitchener voted to go ahead with UBI. Unreal. Like, we did the calculation for it. UBI would cost, drum roll, twice our national, twice our budget. Absolutely twice our budget. Our budget is $50 billion, just over $50 billion. And, or is it now $60 billion? Anyway, the UBI, if it was just to cover what people call, the basic standard, which is like the poverty line, $27,000 a year. It's $1.08 trillion a year that'll cost Canada. Clyde, Alberta, great name. Wait, Clyde, Alberta? Great name. What? Hold on a second. Thank you so much, Alberta first, with a $5 super chat. I'm not sure what you meant by that. Clyde, Alberta, great name. Ooh, I think the sobs meant to you are logoless tonight. I'm logoless. Am I logoless? Do I normally have a logo? Not sure. Right turn, Clyde. First time I heard that one. UTI sounds like STD. Best stay away. You mean UBI? UBI equals you better investigate this. Yeah, absolutely. Clyde is a town. Lol. Oh, Clyde is a town in Alberta. I know it's a town in Texas. I didn't know it was a town in Alberta. That's funny. Okay, I get what you're saying now. There's a place in Alberta called Clyde. Okay. I did not know that. Absolutely didn't know that. I knew there was a town called Clyde, Texas. Your hat and shirt are naked. Yeah, I've got no... Oh, that's what you mean by logoless. I've been logoless for months and months. I guess you haven't been around for a bit. So welcome back, if that's the case. My comment on UBI shoes on YouTube side, but not on Clyde's screen. Oh, it showed up. It showed up on... Oh, okay, yeah, that's why I put the chat up here, because this is the kind of thing that happens occasionally. Sean King, are you related to the Sean King, the Talcum X? Oh, sorry if you don't know the reference. There's another Sean King, but Sean King, thanks for the $6.99 super chat. Hey, Clyde, you need to expose those MPs who voted against our freedom from mandates earlier this week. List those communists. Yeah, they're called the Liberal Party and the New Democratic Party. The entire lot of them voted against it. Yeah, all you got to do is look up the parties and the MPs that are representative of those parties. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I can't believe that. I was pretty upset actually to see that go down. It should be a no-brainer. Okay, we're passing a bill that says you can't be a horrible government anymore, and we're just gonna introduce that, throw that in on the sly. Let's see what you do. And what did they do? Oh, they voted against it. What are you doing? What? That's a no-brainer. Like, okay, at what point is it, what are they doing? Is it because they're being partisan? And they're like, I'm not voting for a bill that the conservatives bring up because I'm against the conservatives. We're not conservatives. We're in a coalition of the unwilling, you know? Like, this is the craziest thing. What, is that what it was? Or is it like, no, the worst reason would be because they maybe want to bring those mandates back. Or it could be a little bit of column A and column B. Oh, I don't want to vote with the conservatives. I'm not a conservative. Get out of here. Get out of here. I'm not really a conservative myself. I happen to be like, okay, well, of the parties, the political parties that are talking right now, the conservatives seem to be leaning more towards where my opinions are than anyone else. And I know we're going to get the PPC people in here going, but Maxime Bernier's got your back. Yeah, well, he's got my back. And you know what? Cool. Nobody's voting for him, unfortunately. So have my back. Have my back. And that's all in good fun, Max. You know, if you're listening to this, it's all in good fun. But you know the game. You know the political game. This is the way it works. This is the way it works. And you know, would we like to see someone that, you know, is going to be a little bit more staunch for freedom and stuff like that? Yeah, I'd like to see that. I'd absolutely love to see that. Would I like to see somebody? Would I like to see all of the candidates that sort of agree lose and have another Trudeau or Singh government. Yeah, no, don't want that. I don't want that at all. And to be honest, PP is saying all the right things at the moment. This is a fact. PP, you don't poo-poo on the PP. You know what I mean? Because he is saying some good things. I don't necessarily think he's going to live up to all the promises. I don't think that that's going to be the case. You know, every politician makes a ton of promises and then doesn't do the thing. And then there's the other camp that thinks that, well, he's just not talking about the things that he wants to do because he's got to get elected first. I don't really buy that one either. I honestly don't. And sure, I'm sure there's things that he's not talking about that he wants to do because maybe they'd be unpopular, right? But that's the thing. Like people actually believe that, and I call them the PP-anons. It's kind of like QAnon, you know, the trust the plan people. I don't buy it. I don't think that that's a thing that's gonna happen. As long as we keep our guns, I'll call that a win. Well, which ones? Which ones? Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Of all the guns that I ever wanted, they're all handguns. I'm an enthusiast with handguns. I like handguns. I think they're cool. I like to pew pew, go to the range, pop 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 pop. That's fun. I think it would be, you know, there was a good argument that Marty brought up with if you're hunting, especially where there's predators around, you bag an animal. That's an attractant to predators, and you could be in a dangerous spot. It's, you know, when something jumps in at you, you have a chance with a pistol. It would be a lot harder to shoulder a rifle and take that shot to save your life. So I think handguns should be legal in Canada. That's my perspective. That's my thought. And yeah, I'm willing to hear arguments about that. $15 super chat from Demo. I always get this one wrong. Am I right? Demogorgon Ramsey. I hope, thank you so much, by the way. It's hard for the Liberals and the NPC to think clearly when they share the collective brain, one collective brain. Absolutely, they're just plucking their brains out. It's by the way, thank you for the super chat. It's so true. It's so true. But there's so many people that are just they catch on to slogans and then that's it. It's hard to actually think these things through, and then, you know, then they come up with these divisive issues, and then they try to wedge and get people to vote on one thing or another. It just so happens that we're in a time where there's massive economic downturn because of the policies of the Liberal Party, and well, that's where we're at. Let's talk about some of these other Liberal policies. Right now, they're coming up with a new policy that will well, they're trying to buy votes, essentially. That's what we're doing. Here's Franco Terrazzano breaking the news yesterday.
Breaking news, Trudeau finally concedes that the carbon tax is making life more expensive. He just announced he's removing the carbon tax for home heating oil, so some people will get some relief for 3 years. But what about everyone else? What about everyone else who heats their home with natural gas or anything else? You know, my family is in Lethbridge right now. Looking outside the window, it's pretty snowy there. It's like -10. It's going to cost them a bundle just to stay warm this year, heating their homes with natural gas. And 3 years. What's funny about that? Well, what's going to happen after the next election? We've seen this song and dance before, right? After the election, they hammer you with an even bigger carbon tax. Look, they're on the ropes. They know they're on the ropes. And today, Trudeau admitted that the carbon tax is increasing the cost of living.
He's on the ropes.
We got to keep fighting and get everyone in Canada the relief that they need by fully scrapping the carbon tax.
Absolutely. I can get behind that. Absolutely get behind that. Now, where was I going with this? I wanted to point something out there. Blacklock Reporter. So Blacklock's reporter, one of the better of the investigative journalist outfits in Canada. Go check them out. Justin Trudeau carbon tax cut on home heating oil is in place till after the next election in Atlantic Canada, home to 24 Liberal MPs. This is an important moment, PM tells reporters. So this is interesting because what are they doing? They're getting rid of the tax so that you vote for them, but then immediately as soon as you vote for them, you're gonna get taxed again. So enjoy your tax break, Nova Scotians. Trudeau's trying to buy you off. Enjoy it for the time being, and then vote Conservative, because then you'll get to keep that rebate and possibly have all of it taken off. Just I can't believe it. Michael McLean with a $10 super chat. Bro, the more libertarian people try to be in this day and age, the more old school common sense conservatives they seem. Keep handguns in Sears catalogs like back in the 80s. Yeah, that was true. That's crazy. Thanks for the super chat. You brought up, I was reading this as the video was going by. You brought up common sense, and this keeps coming up. This is Pierre Poilievre's slogan now. This is his main slogan for his campaign, common sense. Now, Common Sense was a book. It was the name of a book by a man named Thomas Paine. I just picked up a new book, and it was because of someone I saw on Twitter, and I saw that he was an author and had affiliations with the Mises Academy or Institute. Big fan of Ludwig von Mises and the Mises Institute. And it's this new book, Thomas Paine, A Lifetime of Radicalism, by David Benner, which is really interesting. I've read Thomas Paine's book, Common Sense, which I kind of want to go over again. I'd love to read it again. Really good book, written a long time ago, right? And Thomas Paine, probably one of my bigger heroes throughout all of history. So at some point, hopefully I can pick this book up and get reading on it. I've got such an extensive list of books that I need to get into and read. I think this might be the first one for the book club. For anybody who wants to join in on the book club, this is going to be Social Justice Fallacies by Thomas Sowell. It's his newest book. He's a great writer and economist. Can't say enough. He's a senior fellow at at Harvard or the Hoover Institute. So check that out. I'll probably be making another announcement about that for anybody who wants to be part of the book club. The book club, again, is going to be how I'm going to play it out is anyone who is a member of the channel here on YouTube, as a reward for that, a little bit of extra content, a little bit of extra, getting together kind of thing. Once a month. I think I'm going to try to set it up as a once a month thing if we can get through a book once a month, or set a date for a particular book. And if people want to get into that, become a member, and then I'll make it exclusive to members, and then that will be available to them. So I'll do a special live stream after the date, and bring people in who want to talk about it, but it'll be exclusive to members of the channel. So get on in that if you're interested in that exclusive content. I'm an avid reader. I like reading all kinds of this stuff. So that one is my big interest, Social Justice Fallacies by Thomas Sowell. We got another super chat from Robert McFallon for $5. Bill C-21 was written in Beijing. The liberal ownership group want us disarmed. I didn't. Was it actually written in Beijing? I mean, it is the calling card of communists to disarm their populace. That's for sure. David Edwards with a $10 super chat. It's really too bad from Quebec to the Atlantic Ocean is a welfare state. They will get in line for the break on the carbon tax, and UBI in turn vote for the Liberals again. I could be wrong. I hope you're wrong. I hope you're wrong that they don't do that. One thing I do want to encourage, though, is if you hear about people that are immigrating to Canada because they want to get benefits, they're in it for the benefits. I would say Quebec has the biggest benefits, and the rest of the country gives them too much money. So maybe encourage them to move to Quebec if all they want is benefits. Go join Quebec in that. I kid. Okay. More JG with the $20 super chat. How did the march go last weekend? It went great. I didn't do a story about it. So this was a thing I didn't want to. Well, for one, it wasn't a huge event. And there are a lot of news stories. The other part of it is sometimes going to these events for me is more of a personal thing. Like I actually wanted to go in support of it. I wanted to go in support of the event, and it wasn't so much of a get my screen grabs or try to get a viral video or anything like that. I just wanted to lend a hand. I did get some video footage, and I didn't end up using it. But that's the thing. So I had a great time. I got to meet some really cool people. A lot of, family oriented people, a lot, well, of course, I mean, it's kind of a given there. But yeah, it was really good, to meet so many people. It was amazing. A lot of people very friendly coming up and saying, "Hi, I watch you." And I love that. So it's fantastic. Got to meet a lot of really good people. There was one moment where there was some counter protesters, and one of the guys went off of the path to go, yell at them or whatever. But it was just like one person thing. It was very short lived, and then everybody went on. There was another. I wouldn't call it an altercation, but there's a group called Gays Against Groomers. They came with their flags, and their flags are basically a rainbow flag, and then there's a blacked out section that has their logo, GAG. Gag is a bit unfortunate of a name when you break it down to its acronym, but they're good people. And there were some religious people there, and they're like, "Why are you coming to our event and waving these flags? What is that about?" They didn't like that. There was there is this contention that the rainbow was a symbol from God, that all is clear after Noah's Ark, and that whole story. But and people that take offense to pride being a rainbow flag and saying that it's blasphemous in some way, I get that argument. The original people who made the first pride flag made it in the attempt to include everyone. That was the whole point. It was like all the colors of the spectrum, meaning that everybody falls under the same umbrella. Everybody's the same. Everybody should be treated equally, blah, blah, blah. Now, moving forward, they added some chevrons, different colors. They added a circle to the new one. And what that does is it actually, you're saying, no, not just everybody. We're talking about particular colors and particular factions and particular groups, which then you have to add everybody. If not, it's an exclusionary flag. So I just call it the exclusionary flag when I see it. So if I'm going into a shop and I see a sign that's got the flag with the chevrons on it, or the circle on it. In fact, the circle one is a new one. So if you see any of your buddies that have the old one that just has the chevrons in their storefront of their businesses, be sure to give them a good ribbing and say like, "Oh, I see you're out of date, you absolute bigot." I guess essentially that's it. Your exclusionary flag is excluding the new groups that are included on the exclusionary flag. You need to have the other groups that are added to it. This is why I just think it's ridiculous. I think everybody should be welcome everywhere. Doesn't matter what you do. My favorite is the free market. like, and I talk about the market economy. When you're doing business with people, nobody cares what you do with your personal life. Nobody cares what color skin you got, what religion, what God you pray to. Nobody cares about that stuff. They just go, will the check clear? You know, that's all they care about. The market economy is the best thing to bring people together, in my humble opinion. I think that is the greatest thing. And all you got to do for the market economy to function is get out of the way and protect property rights. Use government. The one function that government needs to focus on is protecting people's property rights, because that's what that's the core principle behind the market economy. That's where we should be. Demogorgon Ramsey again with another $10 super chat. Unfortunately, I am in Quebec and I can confirm that this province is a leech on the rest of Canada. So many ignorant people voting without thinking here. Yeah, well, we watched it. We watched it in the last elections when the Supreme Leader, that's what it's Viva Fry calls him, the Supreme Leader Legault, he got back in by promising people other people's money. Like, this is the world we live in. That's what? How is that even possible? That's just crazy. That is crazy that's even allowed. You shouldn't be eligible to do. Like, I think that should disqualify you from an election as soon as you promise something to the people that are gonna vote. Get out of here. And not only that, likely the chances are that money didn't even come from fellow Quebecers. It probably came from people in Alberta paying their taxes through the equalization payments. But that's a thing. Oh boy, that's a whole big a big can of worms we could get into there. But let's get into some of the stuff we were covering in the last video. Here, 1,000 common sense Canadians rally to axe the carbon tax in Windsor, Nova Scotia. Trudeau is having a meltdown seeing these people speaking their minds. Yes, he is. That's got to be scary. It's got to be scary for a politician that knows he's got a shoe in for this in a particular area. When the competing politician goes in, when there's not an election for another 2 years, and sees that thousands of people are coming to your competitors' rally, and it's largely because of the stuff that you're pulling in the country and making life less affordable for these people. But this is where we're at. And so here's what Trudeau had to say. He's got his payola. He's got his new little bribe thing going on where he can tell people that I'm gonna give you a reduction. I'm gonna give you something back, and the government. We got to remember this. Governments don't have money, people. Governments don't have money. Let's all say it together. Everybody in unison. Governments don't have money. This is a thing. People just need to get through their head. The governments don't have money. They only have the power to use governments have one thing: a monopoly on violence. That's what it is. It's absolutely what a government is. It's a monopoly on violence, and essentially they can use that to tax people. So the taxation comes at the barrel of a gun. At the end of the day, don't pay your taxes, see what happens, right? So they force you to pay a tax. You're gonna pay it or else, really. And it really comes down the chain. Yeah, you get a nasty letter, then you'll get a nastier letter, and then you get a person showing up at the door taking you away in handcuffs, and then they put you in a cage. It's the way it works. So yes, it is a monopoly of violence, and this is what people have come together to say, that nobody else should be violent in society except the state, the government. That's the conclusion. So what do governments have? They have the monopoly of violence. Now they're using this to redistribute the wealth. They're taking your money and then they're redistributing it into other things. And what the Trudeau government is doing is they're on the auspices of the climate catastrophe. They're taking your money away and they're giving it away to rich corporations that want to do God knows what with it. And that's their purview, and that's what they're gonna stick with, and that's exactly what's happening there. Now, here he is talking about giving you some of your money back, essentially, and asterisk, not taking as much away in the same process.
The upfront costs of home heating oil, of heat pumps, is a significant impediment that the pricing signal was not sufficient to drive the change in behaviors that many people wanted to make.
The change in behaviors that people wanted to make. The change in behaviors that they wanted to impose on you. We want you to change your behavior. It's one of those things. We want you to change your behavior, so therefore you need to pony up. You need to pony up. No, it turns out they asked too much and people aren't buying these heat pumps. They're not buying the heat pumps. It's not happening.
I spoke with many Atlantic Canadians who'd love to have a heat pump, but simply couldn't outlay the $20,000 required. Even with an existing $10,000 program, it wasn't enough to get them to change the behavior. So we are nothing if not a government that listens to people, that is focused on our goals, and is willing to adjust as necessary. And that's why bringing in this program that is going to change people from heating oil to heat pumps in a way that is easy and affordable for them is exactly the right policy that leaves everyone better off.
It is backwards on this whole concept. Okay. here's how the market economy works. If something is more viable, more people make it. And then more, and if it's profitable and viable, more people will make that thing. More people will compete in that market to get you that thing. So it will just become cheaper. It will become the cheaper option over time. What is happening here? Trudeau's got the whole thing backwards. Cart before the horse. We're gonna make everything else so much more expensive that you're just gonna gravitate towards that thing that seems relatively cheap now that everything's so much more expensive. No, it's not gonna happen, especially when everything else is becoming much more expensive at the exact same time. It's ludicrous. This is so crazy to me that they actually believe this junk. It'll actually be a thing. Mr. Roscoe Pico with the $10 super chat. How many stocks does Trudeau own in this heat pump company? Well, yeah, that's a great question, isn't it? That's a great question. How much has he got invested in the heat pump industry, getting heat pumps out there for people to use? And oh goodness, oh man, I can't believe this. But hey, that's Trudeau with this. I love this little segment, and this is Shameless O'Regan flip-flopping from only a year ago.
I think it's really important because I know the debate at home has been centered on home heating oil, and most people aren't affected. This doesn't happen until July. I am sick and tired of people talking about the cold winter and what we're doing. I am sick and tired of people talking about the cold winter and what we're doing.
You listen to our constituents. Like, you know, there's two ways of looking at it. I prefer the latter because that's exactly what happened. You know, spent the summer at home and people were like, this is happening, and I'm worried and very anxious about how the fall is going to happen, right? I'm worried and very anxious about how the fall is going to happen, right?
I am sick and tired of people talking about the cold winter.
Oh, I'm sick and tired of it. Oh, Ricky, I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sorry. I love the accent. It's funny. It cracks me up every time. Only conservatives will keep the heat on and take the tax off. Oh, yeah, because people are wondering whether they're going to heat or eat in this economy right now. This is absolutely a thing. I don't know what's happening. I keep trying to get Northern Perspective in here behind the scenes. Getting quite the chop from your OBS, FYI, but your stream was fine. Interesting. Maybe tell me, is it working just as good right now? Let me know in the Discord if it's gotten better. I don't know. I can always pop back out and pop back in on that one. So trying to get this stuff going. It looks like it might be on my end, actually. Let me try to fix things. Resetting the audio engine maybe a fix for that. If not, then I'll get back in. Give me a big old thumbs up in the Discord if that's working out. Oh, but hey, I always have technical problems. It's never ending. It never ends. Okay, so it was on my end. So I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna make it happen. David Edwards with the $10 super chat. The one concern I have with PP, and it's no fault of his own, but all his popularity lately. I worry the conservatives could become a cult of personality like the liberals. Would he? Would he? I don't know. I want to bring that question up with Northern Perspective and see what they think of that one, because I think that might be an interesting talking point. He pumps primarily manufactured in China. Trudeau is such a gaslighter. Oh yeah, well he's heavily invested in China. Thank you, Robert McFallon, for the $5 super chat, and David Edwards with the $10 super chat. Really appreciate that. Thank you. But yeah, that concern that PP might become a cult of personality, just like Trudeau. Who knows? I mean, yeah, I guess that's a fair point. That's a fair point to bring up. Let's try to get this stuff going. While we do that, let's watch Pierre Poilievre and what he had to say here. And at what point was it that he said at 4:45 was where he kind of got into it. Here we go.
Either. What caused Justin Trudeau to freak out yesterday and hold a sudden press conference to announce that he was going to pause the carbon tax on home heating oil? The answer is that he was plummeting in the polls, and Pierre Poilievre was holding massive rallies in liberal-held ridings to axe the tax. Justin Trudeau's not worried about the cost of living. He's worried about the cost of votes. And that's what caused his panicked flip-flop yesterday. Yesterday was the one-year anniversary that Liberal MPs, including Liberal MPs from Newfoundland and Labrador, voted to keep taxes on home heating oil. But what does this announcement really mean? Well, one, Trudeau and the Liberals are still going to go ahead with a carbon tax on your gas and groceries, a tax they plan to quadruple to 61 cents a liter. Two, Justin Trudeau announced yesterday that if you re-elect him, he will put the tax back on your home heating oil. Three, he says, don't worry, he'll send you $11 more in the mail.
$11. Like, what a joke.
$11. These days, that's a few cups of coffee. Who's going to feed themselves on $11? While he drives up the cost of the gas and diesel that you put in your car, the fuel that goes into the boats of our fishermen and into the tractors of our farmers, which will drive up the cost of all the food we bring home. That's what you're voting for if you keep Justin Trudeau or the local Atlantic Canadian Liberals elected. A 61 cents a liter carbon tax that will force our seniors to cut back on meals and go hungry. It'll mean more malnutrition. It'll mean hundreds of thousands more Canadians jamming into food banks. Lineups at food banks, they look like bread lines from the Great Depression after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. But he's not done yet. So my message to Atlantic Canadians and all Canadians, don't be fooled by Justin Trudeau's latest panic maneuver. He still plans to hit you with a 61 cent a liter carbon tax, and every single Liberal MP is responsible for making that tax apply. And finally, what about all the other Canadians who don't use home heating oil but use gas?
Hey, yeah, what about
Gas,
us?
which ironically
Everywhere else
has lower greenhouse gas emissions. We'll still pay the carbon tax.
Oh boy, are we ever gonna! Boy, are we ever gonna! Most of us are doubling our costs. Like we pay the equal amount of carbon tax that we do natural gas when we're heating our homes. This is absolutely ridiculous, and it's the way things have been going. Let me catch up on some of these super chats. Trish Prue with the $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Trish Prue. If the Liberals don't want us to use gas, what should the new name of gaslighting be? We should call it oil lighting. Yeah. Oil heating, I guess, should be the new gaslighting. That's the thing. That is funny. Thank you, Trish Prue, for the $10 super chat. Daniel with the $6.99 super chat. Love your channel. Thank you. Thank you so much, Daniel. The first time super chat on the live stream as well. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it very much. Let's get to our guests as well this evening. So I had to take a little bit of time while that video was playing to make this all work, but you guys know them from YouTube. They're my favorite anons on the website. Without further ado, we've got Fox and Cypher from Canadian Perspective. Welcome to the show, guys.
Glad to be back, Clyde.
Thanks for having us.
It's something else. Yeah. Oil lighting. We'll go with that.
Oil lighting. Yeah. So, okay. For people who don't know you guys, the channel is Northern Perspective. It's on YouTube. Go check it out. You guys are do some of the best commentary on Canadian politics. A little more on the wonky side, or more on the dorky side. If you guys know the difference between wonks and dorks.
We explained that actually on one of our videos after you brought it up.
So really?
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't know that before that.
So we're definite wonks.
Yeah, you guys are on the wonky side. I'm on the dorky side, but that's what's good. It makes it for very entertaining collaborative efforts, to say the least, on this. But obviously, you guys work in places where you're unable to share your identities. And for people that are watching, this is the reason why we have two beautiful cartoon images over here on the side. And it's the way things have to be for the time being. And we can all understand it because we live in a communist utopia. I don't know. That's my best explainer for the whole thing.
Yeah, it's pretty good. At one point, people will know, who we are, and a lot of it will make sense. But it's just to protect ourselves, and and because we've seen so many examples of people that have had the government come after them. Like, look at Tamar Leach, look at Chris Barber right now, just for standing up and having an opinion.
Yeah.
Look at Jordan Peterson.
But yeah, Jordan Peterson, like the establishment coming after him. We're not prepared to like step into public life like that, like those folks, but it is what it is. And, some people can deal with it. Some people can't, but I think the new format that we've adjusted to, after the last like 3 or 4 months, I think a lot of people, I think we found that niche and that balance that we present ourselves, not as cartoon characters anymore, but more as just a polished experience, kind of like the liberal hive mind, as we've talked before.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, he's got a great channel, and you guys have a great channel as well. David Edwards with a $2 super chat says oil lamp lighting. I think that might be the new one. I think that's
it.
For people who don't know, the gaslighting comes from an old movie. It was an old movie called The Gaslight, and it was a black and white. I think even a young Angela Lansbury was in that film, believe it or not, when she was really young, and she was a looker.
Yeah, she was a looker way back.
Oh yeah, big time. But and she's one of those cases where a beautiful woman matured and became a beautiful old lady. You know what I mean? She aged very gracefully, unlike some of the Hollywood types that go to the surgeon to make always the same ugly face. I don't know why they choose to do that. You know, some people just age gracefully and just come to grips with the fact that you're going to be an old person one day. But anyway, that being aside, gaslighting comes from that film. The concept behind it was there's this psychopathic husband that wanted to torment his wife and kept turning the gas lights down and making it dimmer and dimmer and dimmer in the house, driving her insane by telling her there's nothing wrong with the lights. He would do it often, and he drove her into insanity by telling her that nothing was changing, nothing was
that I didn't know that. Thank you for that history.
So that's where the term comes from, where you know someone's doing something and manipulating a situation, but telling you that no, none of that's happening. That's gaslighting, right? So
well, I knew the definition. I just didn't know it was from that specific movie. That's great.
Yeah, gaslight. Penny D with a $2 super chat, not saying anything. Thank you, Penny D. Appreciate it. I'm gonna try this chat to keep up with the super chats as we're talking. It might get hectic. Just giving it a go. Another thing we're doing as well is after this chat, we're gonna go into Twitter Spaces. This is a new thing for me. I haven't hosted a Twitter Space before. Normally, the after chat room will go to Discord, but I wanted to try out Twitter Spaces and see how that goes, because there's a lot of people in the community use Twitter and not Discord. We also have Louise Gowenlock, I hope I pronounced that right, gifting 5 memberships to the channel. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. So yeah, I wanted to have you guys on because you guys have been doing a lot of work on the ArriveScam app thing, and I know a bit about it, and I've covered a bit of what's going on, but you guys being the political wonks that you are, deep dive into some of the intricate parts of it. So fill me in, like where are we at so far with ArriveScam?
So as most people probably know, everyone knows what the ArriveCan app is, so I won't go into that. Everyone knows it's a terrible piece of software that the government put in, and it was revealed last year that it cost over $54 million. So that, you know, sent everybody into a tizzy, rightfully so, because an app, I can tell you, market. Well, before I get into what it should cost, most people probably know that 2 developers did a hackathon over a weekend, and they were able to completely replicate the app without all of the back-end integration, but they were basically able to completely replicate the app front to back, and their estimate this would cost about $250,000 rather than $54 million. I even think that is an overestimation. I think you could probably build this app internally. They didn't have to subcontract this out. They could probably build this internally for about $100,000, and most of that would have been what we call brown dollars. So green dollars are dollars that we call money that you're spending outside of your budget. So you actually have to budget that for next year over and above what your normal operation costs. Brown dollars are basically you're using the time of people that are already budgeted, that would have been there regardless if you're doing the work, right? So let's say you have a software developer. He could be working on ArriveCan. He could be working on some stupid database, and he's getting paid in government money, probably $100,000 a year. It doesn't matter what he's working on. He's getting paid $100,000 a year. Those are brown dollars.
Right. Salary workers that you put to whatever task at hand that you need them to do.
So most of that they could probably have done for probably $100,000. Okay. Then it came out that these 2 whistleblowers from a company called Botler they came forward, and we learned that in 2021 they filed a complaint of misconduct and a bunch of other sketchy things that they saw, and in 2022 they provided an even more comprehensive complaint. Now, who's Botler? Well, Botler actually on the surface has nothing to do with ArriveCan, which is what the Liberals are actually attacking them for. But this is where it gets crazy. So
okay, well, hold your thought on that one. We got a super chat from Frank Friesen. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. For $5, says, "I love Northern perspective." So getting praise in the chat. There's a lot of people praising.
I love you too.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, we love you too. And everybody better love Clyde. Get those likes up. They better match the viewers. Let's go.
Oh, they're not matching the viewers. No, I forgot to. I forgot to tell everybody.
Talk slower. We're gonna talk slower.
Talk slower.
Yeah, we're
gonna
keep bugging everybody till they match.
We'll hold that's Clyde stream hostage.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, for those out there, it really helps out the channel. It's free. Just hit that like button, and what it does is it tells the algorithm that there are other people that like watch the kind of content that you watch. They probably would like this too. So helps out a ton with the recommendations. So thank you guys all for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So
this is where it gets crazy.
Yeah, it gets ridiculous. And this is where we fell down the rabbit hole, but we just kept going. So I'm going to try and keep this simple because we don't have 3.5 hours. So what ended up happening back in 2019, the Canada Border Services Agency, CBSA, they decided they wanted to look at taking an app that Botler had already done for the general public, which is a sexual harassment identification app that uses artificial intelligence to help inform you, have you actually been sexually harassed, and what should you then go and do about it? Yeah, they actually use AI to actually do this. It's pretty neat. So what they wanted to do is take that.
It sounds very intrusive, and it sounds kind of weird.
Well, no, you go there and you put your own stuff in. It's a voluntary thing. It doesn't like track you and everything. But anyway, so the government went to them, or the government decided they want to adapt that for the federal government. So a guy named Cameron McDonald, who was the director general at the time for CBSA, tapped his buddy, his longtime buddy, Christian Firth, at a staffing firm called GC Strategies.
Okay.
GC Strategies then went and sought out Botler and said, "Hey, I have a client who's interested in what you're doing. They want to kind of, have this app for the federal government. Can you guys put together a pilot for it?" And they said, "Sure. Okay." Now, normally what happens in this case is a contract is then struck between the client, which would be CBSA, GC Strategies, and the subcontractor that they bring in. That's what normally happens. That didn't happen here. Somehow GC Strategies was able to convince Botler to just start the work. Now, this isn't over one meeting. All this is happening over weeks and months. And what was eventually agreed upon was a $350,000 sum that Botler would be paid. And
for something that they essentially had already completed.
Yeah, but they're adapting it. They're adding more features and they're re-engineering it for the government. Okay, fine.
David Edwards in the super chat with a super chat for $2 says, if they did it internally, it would be ready by 2035.
But it still would have only cost $100,000.
Yeah, that's government work, right? The speed of government work. But they needed it faster, so because they wanted it during the pandemic before everybody else. Yeah.
For sure.
Wow, David Burwell upgraded membership to gold member. Wow, thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
There you go. Thank you.
Wow.
So they would get $350,000, and then GC Strategies was going to get like a 20% cut. So it put them up to like $420,000. That was going to be the full value of the contract, right? So they would get a $70,000 cut. Fine. Mm-hmm. And Botler said, "Well, where's the contract?" They said, "Don't worry about it. This is how it works. Off you go." Fine. So they start working on their stuff. Now, over time, Botler is kind of pinging GC Strategy saying, so where's our contract? What's going on? And when are we going to start to get paid? Because they had agreed on 6 payments. And they weren't getting paid. Now we're into 2020. Now ArriveCan is kind of in the fray.
So this is the government is paying them for this contract, or is this another contractor subcontracting? And
the CBSA was supposed to pay Botler for this contract.
Okay, and the CBSA being an agency of the government would be a check from the government, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. They're an official government agency.
Penny D in the super chat saying for $10 says, "Good to see you all together. Thank you so much."
Yeah, we're with our favorite guy on YouTube. So this is what a better way to spend a Friday night.
Well, I appreciate that. I do. I really do.
That's right. So parallel to this, park all of that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
The government goes to another contractor called Dalian Enterprises. Dalian gets the contract or one of the contracts for ArriveCan, something like $22 million. And the reason why they got it is because Dalian is wholly owned and categorized as an indigenous business. The government has committed 5% of their total procurement towards indigenous businesses. So if you're an indigenous business, you have a leg up on all of your competition to get a government contract. Gotta love kids.
Go ahead.
Welcome to the stream.
Oh yeah, welcome to the stream. 何がいるの?
Oh, there's Batman.
今少しだから。ごめんなさい。できないの? できないよ。
こんにちは。はじめまして。
できないよ。後でね。今働いてるだから。じゃあ、後で。パパのファイルのバッテリー。後でよ。
Oh, that's so awesome that you can raise them bilingual.
Arigato. I know a tiny bit.
Yeah, so my son, we speak with him. We did this with my daughter as well. We speak only in Japanese for the first few years.
That's awesome.
And then that way they get because as soon as it makes for a tougher little bit in the start of getting used to English.
Yeah, but so much advantages later on.
Yeah, big advantages. So our kids are very bilingual.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And so am I, but not French. I don't speak French. That's the funny part.
Je ne comprends pas, monsieur.
Je ne comprends pas. Je suis désolé.
Je suis a hot dog.
No, you're pronouncing the H too much.
Oh yeah, hot dog. There you go.
David Burwell, member for 19 months. Thank you for being a member for so long. I can't believe that. Says, where does the time go? Hope to catch more of the live streams. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's amazing being around for so long. I can't believe I've been at it for that long too.
Right?
Crazy.
It disappears.
It has. It's been going by so quick. Every Friday comes along and it's like, again? All right, here we go. Right? It's crazy.
Yeah, we just started in January and we can't believe it's October. So, November basically next week. So
yeah, insane.
It's insane.
It really is.
So I'll try and get through this quickly. So Dalian gets contracted. Now, the thing about Dalian, and this is where it gets really sketchy. So there's two companies. There's Coridex and Dalian. They are separate staffing firms who get contracts from the government. Last year, Coridex received $42.2 million in contracts from the government. Dalian received $20 million from the government. Now, Coridex and Dalian are located in the same building, in the same office, and share the same staff.
Wait, what? They're the same people.
Yeah, the executives at the top are different, but they share the same staff underneath. So, for all intents and purposes, they're two companies, but they operate as one. And here's why that is super significant. When the government is issuing a contract for bid, they need at least two vendors. So, if you're a guy who has buddy-buddy relationships with these guys and maybe getting kickbacks from them, all you need to do is invite Cordex and Dalian to the table, because that's your two separate vendors. They're two legally different entities. And one of them will win the bid, which means both of them win the bid because it's effectively one company in the back end.
Oh, that's
so that's the first bit of sketchiness.
Wait, so is it not legal to have a bid and only one company contractor go for the bid, or what?
But there, so according to internal government procurement rules, you have to have two,
or at least two.
Correct, to show that you've offered competition.
So you just have the same staff run two companies with different leadership at the top.
That's right. That's right. So yeah.
Oh man, this is gross.
Now, what the other thing that you can do is you can award so what they did is they awarded this big $22 million to ArriveCan, and they didn't really give a scope of work insofar as you're supposed to. So then what you can do in the government is you can issue what's called a task authorization. And a task authorization is something where you can say, hey, I need this done. Now, we already have a contract with you, so we're just going to tie it to that contract. Then you avoid going outside of the bidding process and out of the procurement process, and you can use what's already there. So why is that important? Because GC Strategies did not have a contract with CBSA with Botler. So there was no contract. CBSA had a contract with Dalian, and when Botler was complaining so much that they weren't getting paid, what GC Strategies said is they went back to Cordex and Dalian and said, hey, we need money for this contract. And they said, that's okay. We have this big pile of money for ArriveCan. You can have some of that. And they said, okay, so let's do that. But they said, well, in order to do that, we actually have to put the people that are receiving this money on the ArriveCan contract. So then what happened is GC Strategy said, no problem. Here's the resumes. And then Dalian and Cordex said, well, that's not going to be enough. So we're just going to add to their resume and completely forge that. And then that's what we're going to give back to CBSA.
They were pretty much pumping up the resumes of the two people at Botler to say that they had more experience than they did, because then the value of the contract would be higher.
Right. Because what the government does is it rates the experience of the employees that are working on their contract and then compensates that accordingly. So so they only had,
this is something that's required by the government. Like they can't give them X amount unless they have X amount of experience. So they pad,
it's just based on
their
rules.
Experience and
100%. And
by lying,
and the best,
and with a signature on it.
Well, but the best part is they didn't even have consent from the two people at Botler to even take their resumes and do this. So it's identity theft.
Oh, really? Oh, no,
yeah.
Man. Oh, okay. Wow.
It's contract fraud as well.
Yeah, it's contract fraud as well, because we'll get into contract fraud. So identity theft is the first thing that happened. Then, okay, so they're saying, all right, so here's the contract. Now, from CBSA's point of view, they paid Dalian. They don't care how Botler gets paid, but Dalian was contracted under the Indigenous procurement rules, so it was expected by the procurement process, not the government, I will say, because the government is corrupt, and we'll get into that.
Sorry, what's an Indigenous company? Was that a company that was established before Canada?
it's wholly owned by an Indigenous person or entity,
obviously, but
dummy.
No, but okay. So, but like, how do you? Does everybody involved in the company have to be
51% ownership? 51% ownership
51%,
has to be Indigenous,
but the workers don't have to be. Just the corporation.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Anyway,
moving on.
But the beneficiary is supposed to be the owner of the company who's Indigenous, right? That's the whole intent.
Okay.
That's another topic for another day.
That is a totally other. That's a can of worms.
Because now they, I won't get into that. Okay.
Can of worms.
So
yeah.
So that was the first point of criminality that happened, and then the fact that Dalian was then saying, okay, GC Strategies, so you brought us this quote unquote revenue, we're going to take a cut of it. And so GC Strategy said, okay. And then they went back to Botler and said, so CBSA was really mad about the contract size, so we had to reduce it, but we gave our percentage away, so you're only going to get 336 now. But in actuality, the contract stayed the same, and because Dalian was taking a cut, they then took a bigger cut out of the funds that were going down to Botler. So Dalian got a cut, and then GC Strategies got a cut, and then the rest was going to Botler. So you had a contractor that then subcontracted, which then subcontracted.
And then 10% for the big guy. So
20% and 20%. Both of them took 20%.
That's obviously a Biden joke, but so is that contract fraud where they're renegotiating the terms of it after the fact?
Well, contract fraud is when you're contracting a company to do something, they agree to do that, and then they use the funds for that for something else. They're actually not providing the service in the spirit of the agreement that was agreed. So the agreement was to build ArriveCan,
right?
A component for ArriveCan, and what was being done is those funds were being allocated to Botler, which had nothing to do with ArriveCan.
Right.
Got it?
Got it. Okay, before we move on, Michael McLean with a $10 super chat says, Cypher and Fox, great channel, abbreviations so it all fits in. Your SOBPM 90s House of Common vid was so great. VCR'd it and shared it with my friends in the 90s. What are we talking about?
I have no idea.
That was the Daryl Stinson one.
That
was
was the Daryl
amazing.
Stinson one. Remember that one I showed you the other night?
Was the first thing that got me aware and interested in politics. Gonads. All right.
Awesome.
Fair enough. Great super chat, by the way. Thank you so much.
Sometimes gonads is what it takes to get you interested in politics.
Right. Oh, and Jelly Duck with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much.
So there's that. Now, so the problem is Botler was going months without being paid, and they were kind of starting to see this stuff happening. And the other thing that was very strange is that GC Strategies was meeting with them, and they're saying, okay, so our client, Cameron McDonald, you're going to be meeting with him and a bunch of other people to try and sell this pilot. Make sure you talk up Cameron and give him all credit for this, because it's really important that they know that he was the brainchild and he set all this up. And they said, okay. So this is GC Strategies telling them to say this. And then, so they meet with Cameron, and Cameron says, okay, so we're going to be meeting with the president, John Oswowski of CBSA. This is what you need to do to sell your app. So they're like, what is going on here? So the intent was, and this is what GC Strategies and Cameron were telling Botler, they said, listen, if this goes well here, we can push this throughout the rest of the government, and GC Strategies is going to get a 20% hit on the licensing agreement, and in the end, you'll get $20 million because we will push this out to the entire government. So Botler's like, oh, okay, that sounds good. So they're continuing along this process. Meanwhile, they're not even getting paid. So then they start getting really annoyed. When now we're in 2021, they're like, where's their freaking money?
Yeah.
So then they're going after, they're directed to talk to someone in PSPC. That's the public service procurement arm of the government. So this lady's name is Diane Daly. They're talking to her.
What part of 2020? Is this prior to launch, or is this
late? This is
this is when it's launched.
Yeah, again, nothing to do. This has nothing to do with ArriveCan.
Whoa,
remember?
Hold on, what? I'm getting lost. I'm getting lost.
So what?
Nothing to do with ArriveCan.
Remember, what Botler is building is this sexual harassment thing. Has nothing to do with ArriveCan.
The only link is that they're being paid with ArriveCan money.
That's right. They're being paid out of the ArriveCan contract. That's why it's contract fraud.
What? Okay. So that was the whole clue that I missed in this whole thing is that they were. So what I understood was that they were a developer of this sexual harassment thing, but then they wanted to take that and then somehow turn it into ArriveCan. But that's not that's not what they were doing. They were just expanding this app under government procured funds under the auspices that they were building ArriveCan, and that it's completely just fraud.
As far as the government, and so as far as the government's concerned, their complete visibility to the contract ends at Dalian. They don't have visibility to see anything else that happens behind the scenes, because that's where the paper trail ends. There's no contract between the government and Botler, no contract between the government and GC Strategies for Botler, nothing there. So they're getting kind of annoyed, to the point where they submit a complaint in the fall of 2021, September 27, 2021. They submit a complaint to CBSA saying there's some shady crap going on here, everybody. And that goes unanswered. Then they try to get paid. So they go to PSBC, to a lady named Diane Daly. Now, she says, well, you're not going to get paid until the project is complete. They're like, well, we've done the pilot. Everything's done. Okay, well, you have to turn all of that over. Yes. Okay, fine. So they do that. And then they say, give us our money. And they say, well, we understand that you've made complaints for misconduct. Well, yeah, you have to turn all over those documents as well within 24 hours, or you're not getting paid. So now it's extortion.
Because she's demanding, this Diane person is demanding that the Botler people turn over their complaints and any evidence, any paperwork, anything that they have related to this complaint to the entity that they're complaining against.
Because what's included in their complaint is government misconduct and the staffing firm misconduct. So they're asking them, give over all your evidence and then you will get paid. So the government is now implicated in extortion.
Yeah.
Right?
So this is CBSA that made that extortion, or
that's PSBC.
PSBC.
That's the procurement arm.
Oh, okay. They're the ones that are extorting these people.
Yes.
Wow.
And so there's a bunch of emails that go around. Botler refuses. Kudos on them. They decide to go toe to toe. And then a year later, they've completely had enough. They've severed all ties with GC Strategies and Dalian and all of this. They finally learned about how they were getting paid, and they've said that this is too shady. We're distancing ourselves from this. We're done. So then they decide, because they have some security experts that work for their firm, specifically Amir Morv, who is the other whistleblower. They start gathering their own evidence, like hard evidence on all of this stuff. And then they put forth a rather large file, and then they submit a second complaint in the fall of 2022. Now, the interesting thing is that after the first complaint, Diane Daly, after ArriveCan was launched, was moved out of PSBC. The president of CBSA, John Oswowski, quote unquote, retired
for 3 months
in the summer of 2022 for 3 months, and then was hired by PwC. So you retired, quote unquote, and then you went to work for an auditing firm? I thought you retired.
Yeah,
so,
that happens a lot in government. That we've seen.
Yeah, because they get their pension and then they go and work somewhere else. But
yeah, like we saw recently in British Columbia, Horgan, who is our premier, he retired from his job. David Eby took over, and then a few months later, he ended up on the coal board.
There you go.
After doing coal a ton of service by basically banning LNG from coming into British Columbia.
So there you go. Well, there's his retirement gift, I guess.
Yeah. I got a super chat from Chris B for $6.99. He says, everyone has to watch YouTube whistleblowers coverage. It will blow your mind how totally corrupt Canadian government is. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I haven't seen that channel, but yeah, check that out.
So So then a new president took over, and in the fall of 2022, all of this stuff started to come out about ArriveCan, $54 million, and all the questions started to be asked. And this is when the Botler folks submitted their second complaint. And at that point, they were kind of forced to do something with it. So the then new president, Erin Ogerman, or O'Gorman, I'm not sure, how to say her last name properly, then referred that to the RCMP. After that happened, she and John Oswowski were called into committee, unbeknownst to the committee that they did that, because they were being asked questions about ArriveCan. And Erin Ogerman chose not to reveal this complaint, chose not to reveal that there was an RCMP investigation that had started, completely hid that from committee.
Oof.
Yeah. Now, subsequent to that, what Botler started to notice is that their emails were all of a sudden being hacked, and only the emails that were referring to misconduct and their complaints were being deleted. So in response to that, they said, all right, well, we're going to restore all those from backup, and we're going to put in a third-party piece of software that alerts us whenever our emails are being read. So they were starting to see
hackers hacking back kind of thing.
Well, they were starting to see that that their emails were being read as them on their own email server, and they're sitting there watching this happen.
Right.
So the question is who is hacking into their emails, only reading the emails related to corruption and all of this crap going on with the government? So now you have another charge of corporate espionage. So add that to the list. In addition to that, they've revealed that these three companies, Cordex, Dalian, and GC Strategies, over the last 10 years, have received over $411 million of taxpayer money. And these companies do no work. They do zero work. All they do is take the money and then give the work to other people.
And they take between 15 and 30%
of the contract.
Yeah.
$430 million in how long?
10 years.
Whoa. For work that's just, at the end of the day, we're not even getting a good product.
Right. In 2013, it was fairly quote unquote low. GC Strategies wasn't in the picture. GC Strategies didn't come around until about 2017. In 2013, there was a combined $44.8 million or $42.8 million to Dalian and Cordex. They're effectively the same thing. That went to 26.6 the next year, 27.6 the next year. Then this is when Trudeau's in. Jumps to 31, 32, 35, 40, 46, 65. GC Strategies in the picture by now. Last year, $80.3 million between these three companies that do no work.
And it all kind of coincides with Trudeau coming to power.
Pretty much. And here's the interesting thing, because this is only what the government has posted. The problem is these guys could be sharing these contracts back and forth and you wouldn't know, because that's all hidden.
Right. So, they contract to one company, the one gets awarded, but the other one didn't get awarded for the other one, but they may be getting work through other contracts.
Right. That they're subcontracting to subcontractors to subcontractors. So
they're just siphoning tax dollars off.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there was an implication in the testimony yesterday that Cameron McDonald was getting more than just credit. So for sure, what was going on is his admitted longtime buddy, Christian Firth, was saying that that Cameron was getting a kickback from every contract that was given to GC Strategies. In addition, it was admitted by Christian Firth that, oh yeah, we do this all the time because we all have dirt on each other. So now you're talking even more extortion because you have people that are essentially complying with each other and working each other because of mutual knowledge of criminality.
Oh boy. Wow.
In addition to that, so the Conservatives were doing a great job yesterday of kind of laying this out. Then they said, all right, so all this crap's going on. Was this ever reported to a minister? Oh yeah, we reported this to the president of the CBSA, who reported it to the public safety minister. Who was the public safety minister at that point in time?
Mendicino.
Marco Mendicino.
Marco Mendicino. And there were allegedly other ministers involved as well. And they asked, the Botler people asked for a tip request. So that's access to information privacy. You can do that for from the government that involves anything involving your name. They're obligated to give that to you. Everything was redacted, of course. But committee said, well, we would like to see those unredacted, please. So the game plan of the Conservatives is going to be that once they see if there are minister names on these emails, now it is connected to Trudeau's cabinet and elected officials. Because before that, this was all connected just to public service employees. They are not elected, not really appointed aside from the deputy ministers and the assistant deputy ministers. So it could be insulated from Trudeau. And that's where we thought this ended initially. And that's why we thought, okay, so Trudeau's going to be fine. He could take this as a win. He could say, look, transparency, and throw this Cameron McDonald guy to the wolves. But he didn't do that. And we're like, what's going on here? That's why, because this is now connected into his cabinet. And if as soon as that's found out, they have to deliver all this stuff in 3 weeks, the Conservatives are going to go running to Parliament, crying corruption.
Rightfully so.
And this could lead to the fall of the government, because the NDP all of a sudden switched sides in this last hearing when all this crap was coming out, and they're saying, yeah, we want to see all those documents too. This is terrible. This is corruption. So the NDP are starting to distance themselves from what's about to go down.
I'm sorry, I got distracted. My wife came in with her Halloween costume on to scare me.
Spicy, Clyde.
Oh, it's creepy, actually. It was creepy. My bad. So that distracted me a lot.
So what did you miss? All of it? Let me start at the beginning.
No, all right. So
there's a company named Botler.
Oh wow. Okay, that caught me off guard. That was because I heard the sound behind me and I thought it was my son again. I was like, I'll ignore it. Maybe he'll just walk out. I look over, it's my wife. Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, no. So oh man, that distracted me really bad.
So just to do a 30 seconds. So
yeah.
So basically the Conservatives are waiting for evidence that is going to arrive in 3 weeks. They've asked Botler to turn over all of their evidence. They are happy to do so. They want to see the government corruption just completely blown apart here. And if the Conservatives get what is quite possible that they will get emails that show that cabinet ministers had knowledge of these crimes, literal crimes happening, and did not do anything, didn't raise it, didn't ensure that the RCMP was involved, nothing. And then they will be running to Parliament, basically accusing that makes these ministers now co-conspirators for cover-up for these crimes. So they will then be trying to implicate the NDP in this, and the NDP is going to say, whoa, we had nothing to do with this, and this could lead to the fall of the government.
Well, at least Parliament being dissolved, i.e., like the coalition
Same thing.
ending. Like that's what you're referring to, right?
Right, but then
Nobody's
but then
doing any perp walks. Like, that's not happening.
No. But it could lead to it could lead to the NDP saying we're done with this. We're going to do a non-confidence vote because we want to distance ourselves as far away from this as possible, and then you could see an election.
Is that why they're campaigning so hard right now?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if this is why, but it could be partly why. Because there's a lot of this has been in the background, and of course the ministers are seeing what's going on, and the ministers are seeing the Conservatives getting closer and closer and closer. That's why they were shutting down those hearings before. So
we're getting into like super majority territory.
We're at 205 seats based on the last projections.
That's a mandate to govern.
Yeah. So and if this goes down, that's going to pop even higher. So
holy cow.
So there's a lot of crazy stuff going on with this. If anyone does want to hear the deep dive, especially the hearing yesterday, we did a 3.5 hour stream.
Last night. Yeah.
Yeah. You told me. I didn't realize that was why it was such a big deep dive into this.
Yeah. The video was 2 hours. We spoke for, I guess, 1 hour and 20 minutes on top of that. So that was the stream. We also have our original expose on the ArriveCan scandal, and so you can watch those. The first one was 37 minutes, and then you can go into your 3.5 hour marathon to go to sleep. But and this isn't done. So committee's going to come back in 3 weeks, and this has the potential to just completely blow up and go nuclear.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, these documents that they've requested are going to be part of the public record, and then we'll be able to see them.
Correct. So the Conservatives were pushing to get all of these documents on the public record. What may not be public record is the actual contracts, because so this is what they requested. They requested all of the contracts for the last 10 years from the government to Dalian, Cordex, and GC Strategies, because they want to know where the hell has our money been going. Number two, they asked for all of the evidence to be provided from Botler for all of these crimes. And they said, yes, absolutely, we have it all. You will get it within a
days,
week.
I think, yeah.
So the Conservatives wanted to make all of those public. That should be no problem.
Right.
If the NDP is on side, they will be able to do that. The contracts, probably not, just because of privacy laws regarding the governments and NDAs and all of that stuff. But that can still be all turned over to the RCMP, and they can do what they do. And then they also asked for. I think that was in totality. They asked for all of that. So, all of the ATIP requests that Botler made, they asked for all of that, but unredacted, with all of the minister names and the emails and all the information in there. So those are the three major document components that they asked for. But those three components can really paint a very, very sour picture for this Liberal government.
Well, like an actual criminal sort of implication picture.
Like multiple crimes. There's like 6 or 7 crimes, like federal white collar crimes going on here.
Whoa. I mean, we all knew that there's scandal after scandal with this government, but this is like actual implication of high level officials in the cabinet, Trudeau's cabinet. Correct. And we don't know if she was made aware or if she was aware. Like we can't speculate that, but we do know that Chrystia Freeland was named in one of the people that was involved, at least in the Botler project. Wow. Yeah. I mean, we know she's no stranger to conflict of interest. Holy cow! In her day-to-day activities, whether it's being on the board of trustees for the World Economic Forum or her stuff with the Ukraine, but. Wow, she was actually implicated with that organization. Yeah, she was involved in some of the discussions that were going on there. Now, to be completely objective about this, we have to date not seen any evidence that associates any wrongdoing with her, but these ATIP requests will reveal that.
because she could be on some of those emails where she knew this was going on. It's a possibility. We don't know.
Wow.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she knew or not. All it takes is one or two ministers in that cabinet to have known. And then what happens is this then gets tied back to the Chinese foreign interference, where you have ministers knowing that stuff was going on and they didn't bring it up. Now you have a pattern of this type of corruption in the government, and it's no longer a one-off. And we were talking about this on the stream last night, and how this is going to be linked to foreign interference. And then, as if on cue, they started talking about the fact that, yeah, you know, these types of people who people have dirt on, those are the people that are actually most susceptible to foreign interference, because there's dirt out there on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then that allows China, Russia, and all of these other countries to be able to directly influence these people to make them implement their agenda within the government.
Oh, this is sour. Yeah.
Well, and what's worse is because they were subcontracting below that, the people who were actually doing the work at the bottom, like Botler, for instance, they didn't have security clearance, or their security clearance wasn't high enough for the stuff that they were working on. And there's no paper trail to prove or disprove it, because they were like subcontractors of subcontractors.
Yeah, they eventually got it, but it was actually one of the risks that they highlighted, is that because of this model, contractors are being given access to government resources, government information, government systems without the proper security clearance. If you have a bad actor in there, like, this could end up in one of the sensitive government systems having a time bomb planted in it, and, you know, exploding either ransomware or systemic spyware using elevated credentials. Like, imagine if you had a contractor that was working for the Chinese Communist Party doing work on ArriveCan, which has access to virtually every single piece of information that every single traveler puts into that system traveling through Canada. And then they're able to get to every other security system, which there's 180 of them within the Canada Border Services Agency. Think of how much data that would give the Chinese government access to.
Yeah, that's insane. That's just average people's data, especially stuff that would be of an interest to them, Chinese nationals, when they travel, what border they're coming from, things like that.
Well, who are the people that travel the most in Canada? Executives.
Yeah.
So now they have all this information on these executives, and now they start gaining enough information to be able to possibly influence these executives at these high-ranking companies all around Canada.
I hadn't considered that either. Yeah, that's incredible. That is a terrible security breach.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Insane.
So that's what we've been working on.
Wow. Yeah, unbelievable. Good job. Wow, pulling up all of that information. That is just incredible. And to think, like, what are the implications of this? If this gets swept under the rug, I mean, then you'd have to say that every aspect of the government is corrupt. Even the, like, how
I don't think it will.
You don't think this?
I don't think it will this time. No. I think because it seems like the NDP are on board, at least this time. When they had the Auditor General in, no, it was the RCMP for ArriveCan.
So there was two, right? The first
the Auditor General, they let her speak for about half an hour, but the RCMP officials, the NDP and the Liberals shut down committee like the second it started.
Yeah, for the SNC-Lavalin hearing. So they brought in the Commissioner of RCMP. You're probably aware of that, right?
Yes, well, I covered it. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, so this time the NDP actually seemed like they were trying to help uncover, like, what the data was beneath, like what the evidence was, what evidence Botler had.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't being resistant.
Yeah, they were trying to actually cozy up to the Botler people there. They're like, you were so courageous. Thank you so much for coming.
I hate the pandering. It's just so
I know.
the whole thing. It really is.
I know. But
You gotta have a
but they
really
said,
good gag reflex to watch those hearings.
but they were even saying, yeah, we want to see these documents. We want these documents here. And then there's this one guy, liberal, I forget his first name. His last name was Souza. He was just doing his utmost best, albeit a terrible job, at trying to just disconnect this whole thing from ArriveCan. He's like, okay, so this wasn't ArriveCan. And he was trying to really obfuscate and undermine the Botler people. And
because they were very supportive of the ArriveCan thing.
Right. So the Botler people, I give credit to them, did a phenomenal job. The one thing I criticize them on, which actually landed them in this whole situation in the first place, which is actually a good thing, because this probably would never have come to light if they had actually done this. They should never have started work on what they were doing without a written contract. That is business 101. You never ever commit to anything unless you have something in writing. So that was actually something that they were very naive in this whole process. But that naivety actually led them to uncovering all of this corruption going on. That's the irony in this whole thing.
That's insane. We got a few super chats here. David Edwards with $2 says he will prorogue government.
He might.
It's possible.
But that the great thing here is that won't matter to a degree. So, well, you know what proroguing Parliament is? Everybody on your stream.
No.
Oh, you don't?
I'm not familiar with that. What does that term mean?
Okay. So proroguing Parliament, what that does is it effectively it ends the current session of Parliament.
Okay.
It doesn't shut down the government, but it ends the current session. Now, what that has the consequence of doing is it literally shuts down every single committee, every single investigation, every single aspect of government.
And any bills that are like in first, second, third reading or even passed, but they haven't received royal assent yet, those are like dead in the water. So
everything stops and everything is literally reset to zero. It's as if the Conservatives were coming into government, or the NDP were coming into government. They would be starting from zero, except when Parliament is prorogued by the current government, the session is ended, everything starts over, and then committees are started from scratch. Bills are started from scratch. Everything is started from scratch. So these current investigations that are going on
with the whole UBI thing.
Yeah, that'd be the only thing. But it would end all of the investigations into ArriveCan, into SNC Lavalin, into all of this other corruption that is actually going on within some of these committees.
So in itself would be an act of corruption.
It would. But what it wouldn't end is the current RCMP investigation that is ongoing into this. That continues.
Oh, okay. So to fire up a new committee would be just a procedural thing.
It would, but they would be very careful as to who they would put on that committee and make sure they would not allow these investigations to be restarted. But it doesn't change the fact that the RCMP have an active investigation and an active case. So they will still continue to investigate the ArriveCan, Botler, procurement corruption, and all of these crimes that have been committed.
Robert Mafallon says for $5, I listened to Northern Perspectives live stream yesterday. It made my head explode just like Clyde's right now. Yeah. I didn't realize how deep this one ran. Rick Robitaille with a $10 super sticker. Thank you so much for that. It's him falling off his chair.
Well,
unreal.
here, let me
Thank
send
you so
you. Let me send you something, Clyde. So check your Discord. This is an image on the CBSA website. This is their breakdown of what the ArriveCan app cost and how.
Okay, well, I don't have you set up in the thing, so it'll just be me looking at this, but here we go. So what the ArriveCan app cost.
Yeah.
So you got $80,000 initial version.
That's the only reasonable cost in this entire document.
Okay, 70 plus releases of the app and website cost $8.5 million. What are the two different categories?
8.8.
Sorry.
So Yeah. So the first one is the actual cost, and the second one is the budgeted cost.
Okay, so it was more. So 8.8 for that. Service call center. Sorry, I gotta center myself on this. Canada call center, $7.5 million as opposed to the 6.1 it was budgeted for. Data management, 5.2. Ooh, under budget on that one. Glad to see them just cutting costs, eh? Indirect costs, 4.9 instead of the 1.8. Oh,
now,
boy.
let me talk to you a bit.
And it just keeps going.
This will blow your mind. What happens there? So indirect cost. So see how it says payments to SSC and PSPC for internal project related activities and employee benefits, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So Shared Services Canada and PSPC, on every single contract, on every single purchase that the government makes, they take a 10% cut. So if you're paying $5 million on a project, they will automatically add $500,000 that you have to budget to pay them. If you pay, so that's why. So 4.9. So most of this, so if you take the, so if you take the contingency off, it's close to say 49 million. 4.9 is at 10%. So that's why that's there. So they're taking a $4.9 million overage just because.
Wow. So that's kind of like shop costs, right?
Yeah.
Like when we put that on a bill, it's like, okay, well, you know, I used a bolt here, I used some zip ties, I used some cut off discs, you know, like all these things that are just consumables in the shop that you don't really.
Right.
But we usually, you know, it's kind of a give and take, sort of take a penny, leave a penny, depending on the job.
Well, there's no leave a penny here. It's all take a penny.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
because there you'll have government agencies here that are completely self-sufficient, that actually don't need any of the government help, but they still have to purchase through the government and they still have to pay that 10%.
Wow. We got a super chat from Vesper Design for $10. Says, Northern Perspective are savage in picking apart the stupidity of the Liberal government. Early 2024, a new era. Go, go, go. We also have David Edwards for $5. Says, he prorogued because the We scandal. And then we have a confidence vote. We have a confidence vote. Harper also did it once. So this isn't new. This is a thing that happens from time to time.
Well, and everyone should understand that there's actually been dozens and dozens of confidence votes already, because whenever you have a vote on budget or something other like that, that's a confidence vote. So if they're voting on the budget and the budget gets voted down, the government falls. Oh, okay. I did not know that. Yeah. If you disagree with their budget, then we have to go to an election. If the NDP voted with the Conservatives against the budget, the government would have fell. Is that just an automatic thing? So like, correct, a government comes with a bad budget, that everyone votes against it, and then it's election time? Yeah, it is a confidence vote. Wow. Yeah. Wow indeed. Okay. Now you can bring an individual vote of non-confidence. That's something else. But that's actually at the end of the day, that's pretty good. Because if they have a bad budget, then it's like, no. Right? Like, it kind of makes sense. It's pretty risky to have a bad budget because that will bring you to an election. So it's kind of like they need to have a decent compromise on the budget. But right, if you're a minority of the government, yeah. But at the same time, what is it? They'll end up voting for the budget because they don't want to go on too long. I mean, I understand filibustering is a thing that the Conservatives like to. Well, everybody likes to do when they're not in power. So they'll filibuster for as long as they can, but then they end up voting for it. What, just out of attrition? What's the reasoning behind that? Well, the Conservatives didn't actually vote for this budget; they voted against it. They vote against it, but it's because a majority does vote. They're just filibustering to delay it to make it uncomfortable. Well, yeah, they're trying to do that just to delay it as long as possible, and to, on the off chance, convince some of the other MPs to vote for it. It never happens.
Yeah, David Edwards
but,
is also saying here for $2, they can also make any vote a confidence vote.
They can. Well, it depends on who's putting forth the motion. Yeah.
That's why I'm glad I have you guys to explain some of this stuff. I mean, like, I get the rhetoric. I get going back to the political wonks versus the political dorks. I'm a dork, so I'm an ideological guy. Like, I think about the ideology of stuff. I think about, philosophy and what is the purpose? What should a government rightfully be able to do? And then you get into the actual policy, which the political wonks like you guys get into, and then it goes down to like the actual procedural level. I don't know this stuff. Wow. Like when the Speaker of the House did his grandstand, I didn't know that he was even able to do that. And they're pulling
He's
up.
not.
Well, he's not.
Well,
he's not allowed.
But even the parliamentarians, like they don't even know the rules. They're pulling out the rule books. Well, he was trying to find a way in the rule book to shut it down.
Well, the best thing is when Scheer grabbed the rule book, because he was Speaker, right? He used to be Speaker of the House, so he knew exactly what was going on, and he's like, no, this is not in alignment with the standing order, but. But
there's no consequences for Liberals, right?
There's no consequences.
Greg got to do what he wanted when he wanted, and he did it because he knew Canadians would be watching question period. Yeah, he was supposed to do it in that 15 minutes beforehand, or he could have done it afterwards, but he did it during question period because that's when Canadians watch. Yeah,
because there's always like at least a couple thousand minimum people watching that versus the rest of the house sitting. Nobody watches it. You actually have to go to Parle View and actually watch the stream. Nobody does that. But back to the wonks and the dorks.
Before we get into that, Steve Hyde says for $10. But I thought the budget would balance itself. Cheers, guys. Love the channels. And also Ken Hobbs with a first-time super sticker. Thank you so much for $20. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Ken Hobbs.
I was going to say, this is why I think our channels complement each other so well, because we really dive in on very particular subjects, and we spend a lot of time on that, where you cover a wider breadth of things that are actually going on, and it actually brings us awareness to that. So,
and I talk about the philosophy behind it. I really am in touch with that. That's my concern. Is like it's the is versus the ought, right? So like I'm looking at what is versus what ought to be. Should we be doing this? Should the government be allowed to do these things? Should the government have a purview over these things? And this is what I concentrate on, and a philosophical view of that, and looking at the different type of political ideologies and whether or not they're compatible with our way of our lifestyle, the Canadian way, the Canadian thought process, and humanity in general, like just like the human experience. I'm sorry, I'm so abhorrent, diametrically opposed to socialism and its tenets because of the core principles behind them. I know they're pretty and they sound great on the surface, and a lot of people get mesmerized by it, but at the end of the day, when you bring it down to first principles, the idea between the real thing, the crux of what's going on between socialism and a market economy is whether or not we protect property rights. That at its core is what it is. And when
you reduce it, that's basically what it is.
Yeah, and when people realize that, they tend to fall away from the allure of that socialism brings to them. So I like to break that argument apart to that level. I love how you guys like to get into the actual implementation of these systems. I get more into the philosophical aspect of it. Alta Peasley for $13.99 says, you got a deep dive here, Clyde. Keep looking into this ArriveScam. I just watched that this guy's garage put out. Northern Perspective just cleared it up so much more. I really like this guy's garage. I've been following him for a long time. He does really good work as well. And you guys, again, great deep dives into this stuff. Shed Dwelling Hermit for $5 says, "Hi everyone. Can one's mind be blown 2 nights in a row after watching this? I think so." Thanks for all you do. Claps and cheers. All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. But yeah, I do agree with you. I think our channels do complement each other so well because we look at different aspects of these things while you know, somewhat being unaware of what each other are at that moment.
Yeah, and it's great when you have, you know, that complementary type of style because you know, especially with all of the different channels out there, you know, you don't want people to get any, you know, content fatigue. You want them to get something fresh with each channel that they're looking at, and because everyone has something else to bring to the table, and it just informs Canadians that much more. And it's interesting. We got an email back from one of the Conservatives that we're hoping to actually have on our show, and fascinating to hear them talk like we talk, and what they said was, you know, just, you know, it's kind of what we have to deal with. It's a shame that you have to consider your identities. I'd like to discuss how we can work together to ensure viewpoints other than what the mainstream media expound are heard. Thanks again for doing what you do. So it's interesting that even, you know, they understand what's going on and they're pretty vocal about it. So, yeah. Like it's a travesty in our country when journalism used to be something where, you know, there were people on there that people revered because they were trusted, they distributed the truth, and you felt informed. And now you feel lied to every time you turn on the television, and it's a terrible environment to be in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What was it? I gotta share this because it's absurd. It's absurd. This is CTV News Ottawa wins 2 local RTDNA Canada awards for their coverage of the Freedom Convoy. Hey, what do you know? These guys did such a bang up job during the Freedom Convoy. They're giving themselves prizes about it. For anyone who's new to the channel, I covered the Freedom Convoy largely last year.
Where's your RTDNA award?
Oh, it's so funny because my coverage of the Freedom Convoy was that they were all lying to you about what was going down at the time. It's unbelievable that this is the kind of thing that thanks for the
this
great
reminds
job.
me.
Wait, Clyde, go to rtdnacanada.com and scroll down to the bottom.
Oh no.
This whole thing though reminds me of that meme where like Obama's draping that medal over his own shoulders. You know what I mean? You guys know, you would know it if you saw it. It's like you're congratulating yourself. It's just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I love that meme. That's a good one. Okay, so this
scroll all the way down to conference and award gala partners.
Okay, conference and award gala partners all the way down.
Keep going. Keep going.
Wait. Oh, did I pass it? Oh, look!
And scroll up a little.
Global.
And there's CBC News.
There's CBC. Oh, sorry. I got my there we go. CBC Conference Award Gala Partners. These are all the people that pay for this. CBC News, our tax dollars. Global News, partially our tax dollars. Google News Initiative. All these guys will be banned on Google in a minute. Gold level sponsors. These are the higher ups. Oh, that's funny. The gold level sponsors are CTV, CNN. What? Oh man, City News everywhere. Didn't City News just get like a big like crackdown? They're firing a bunch of people. Isn't that? Hold on. I got an article right here. City launches emergency shelter. No, that's not the one. Hold on.
Unless they're launching it for their own people.
Oh no.
I'm sorry. I found a story earlier, and it was City News.
So Rogers shuts down City News Ottawa radio station, lays off newsroom staff. I'll give you that link.
Please do. Oh my goodness,
you go.
This is too funny. Oh, no. I clicked that one again. Okay, here we go. No thanks. Rogers shuts down City TV News, City News Ottawa radio station, lays off newsroom. The whole staff, they're gone.
Gone.
Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. They're doing such a great bang up job over there in the news industry.
How's that bill C-18 working out for them?
I was just going to say maybe they shouldn't have bullied Facebook into blocking all their
It
links.
was a shakedown. It really was.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, for sure. And the MP that we actually had on, Liberal MP, Ken
Hardy.
Hardy. He admitted it. He said, "Oh yeah, it's a shakedown. It's a complete shakedown."
Well, and then we were going to have him on the channel, and then he went and said something very horrible in Parliament a week after Rhoda had recognized, that SS soldier in Parliament.
It wasn't Rhoda. Don't put it on him.
I know, but
he spoke the words.
he said the words, right? So, but anyways,
he stumbled
this
over
MP
the words as he was reading,
He did.
realizing what he was reading. Oh my goodness.
But this MP said something very similar the week later, and we're like, great.
Yeah, he basically compared he said Joseph Goebbels would be very proud of the Conservatives right now. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because of all the lies that they're telling.
And we're like, how are we supposed to work with this
outta
guy?
here.
We went in good faith to try to have a discussion to see, why are you guys pushing forward this bill? Small YouTubers, I guess, don't want us. And then he says something like that, and then we're like, I guess we can't work with this guy anymore because he thinks we're,
part of the Nazi propaganda machine. And he tweeted it during question period, Clyde. During question period.
Dude.
Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And of course, Lanceman was all over that. You can believe that. So
Oh, I can believe that for sure.
and then apologies and all this bullshit.
What was that? Was that other woman who, during the Freedom Convoy, honk honk is an acronym for hail the mustache guy. Like,
right?
What are you kidding me?
Get out of
Where
here.
do you get this stuff? And man, I can't. I got no time for it. I've got no time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, right. I got bronchitis. Brian Peplinski with a Canadian 279, very oddly specific number for a super chat. Thank you so much. JT, this is a lesson for all Canadians. Yeah, Justin Trudeau is a lesson for all Canadians for sure. Precision. Precision? Sorry.
Non-precision, yeah.
I'm reading that wrong. I'm a terrible dyslexic mechanic. That's supposed to be reading the news on the internet. Thank you so much, Non-Precision, for the $6.99 super chat. What justification could Liberals use to prorogue Parliament so soon
They don't need
into
any.
the session?
They don't need any. That's the problem. They can. Trudeau has the power to do it. He just goes to the Governor General, asks the Governor General to prorogue Parliament, and that's it. It's done.
Yeah, he could say, I don't like cookies today, prorogue Parliament, and then off it goes.
Can the Governor General refuse?
Nope.
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Okay. Vesper Design with a $5 super chat. Can you imagine the party in Ottawa when the Liberals love devastatingly very soon? I think leave devastatingly very soon. It will be re-christening of Canada. What are you writing? I'm having a hard time reading this. What are you
I think
writing?
Vesper's had some wobbly pops tonight.
I've had some wobbly pops and it's hard to read it now. I'm having a hard time. Oh man, yeah, no, it's gonna be a re-christening. I don't think I'm allowed to say what that word. I never understood why you're not allowed to say that word, but whatever. That's a YouTube thing. Thanks for at least keeping it kosher in the super chats. Appreciate that. But we are getting on the I think we're going a little long on this one. Promised everybody we do a Twitter Spaces, so if everybody is interested in that, go over to twitter.com/Clyde do something. we're going to be doing a Twitter space. I think I have a link for it somewhere here. David Edwards getting in with a last minute $10 super chat says, I will explain my earlier question better. I think you ask questions, you don't explain. Anyway, what I mean by the cult of persona, when the party is tied to one name, when that name falls, the party falls. I don't think PP would behave like Trudeau. Okay, I get what you're saying on that. I hope it doesn't become that. And this is how politics have largely been going anyway. Yeah, I think if the whole party is largely gets their courage from only the leader, then it could go that route. What do you guys think?
With the Liberals, yes, because the big problem that the Liberals have is Trudeau has strategically set up his cabinet to have very weak ministers surrounding him, so that there is no other perceived option for Liberal leadership other than him. If there is, the public doesn't have any sort of visibility to it, because all the public is exposed to is the ministers that are at the press conferences and in question period, and those are the cabinet primarily. So when it comes to the Liberals, yeah, I think if Trudeau falls, their party is done for. Now, when it comes to the Conservatives, I heard your question actually before we came on about this, and do we believe that this is going to be like the cult of Pierre? I don't think so, because people aren't believing in Pierre. People are believing in the ideas that he's talking about. It's not a cult to believe in affordability. It's not a cult to believe that you should be able to actually afford a home. It's not a cult to be thinking that you shouldn't have to struggle to put gas in your gas tank and heat your home. And if it was a cult, even if Pierre got in and he didn't deliver on those things, people would love him anyway. That would not happen in this case. If Pierre gets in and doesn't axe the carbon tax, doesn't repeal Bill C11, doesn't repeal Bill C18, doesn't repeal Bill C69, and doesn't start implementing legislation to do all of the things that he said he's going to do,
Defund the
people are going to be turning.
all the likes.
People are going to be turning on him right quick, especially because of all of the corruption that is blowing up with Trudeau right now. That's not going to be tolerated if they don't get some indication that Pierre's going to be delivering on those promises within the first 6 months. He's going to lose his support extremely quickly if he doesn't do any of that.
I don't want this. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think a cult leader is a very specific type of persona. They're very narcissistic, whereas I don't get that from Pierre. Now, we've asked several MPs that we've spoken to, also, former MPs, for example, our friend David Sweet, who told us, that Pierre is a very genuine person. He's a very kind person. He's a great husband. He's a great dad. Like, you don't hear about those qualities in a cult leader. And I trust David because he's not an MP anymore.
There's no skin in the game.
Yeah. So, he's not trying to get reelected. He's not trying to get his leader elected. He's out of the game.
He just wants to run his trailer park.
And he also used to work with Dave, or he also used to work with Pierre on, I think it was the ethics committee, he said. So, he knows him on a personal level. So I trust what he says 100%.
Yeah, and he says what you see on the camera, that's basically what you see on the tin. What you see on the tin is what's inside with Pierre. So the way he is on camera is the way he is off camera. And the Liberals, they try and paint him as this, well, he's not who he says he is. Well,
he's hard in question period.
He is who he has to be when he has to be.
Yeah, like he's tough in question period because he's trying to stand up for Canadians. And that's what question period is. It's the chance for the opposition to question the government about their policies and try to implement things for their constituents, because not all of us voted for Trudeau. We didn't. You know what I mean?
No, I didn't.
How many viewers on this channel did? So why should he get to decide how this country is going and have no input from the rest of us?
Well, and put it this way, Larry Brock, which a lot of people love, and they should, because he's an amazing MP. he is not on every committee, but he's brought in as an associate member when they need him, because when they need somebody to literally interrogate somebody, they bring in Larry Brock because he used to be a Crown prosecutor and is so good at it. And Pierre, they used to bring him in when they're dealing with corruption, when they're dealing with, you know, people that are that need to be held to account. Pierre was very, very good at that. He was the pit bull of the Conservative Party when it came to committee. So that's what the Liberals are trying to kind of paint him as, is, oh, it's this very aggressive guy, and you know, he doesn't care about you. No, he's who he has to be when he has to be, and that's also a mark of a good leader, because they can adapt to the audience and the situation that they need to be in.
I can see that. Yeah, Brian Letwinuk for $10 says it's not a real live Northern Perspective show until Syfe drops an F-bomb. Just saying.
Maybe in the after chat.
Maybe in the after chat.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
So for the after chat this evening, instead of going over to Discord, we're going to try something new. This is a new thing for the channel. We're going to go over to X, formerly known as Twitter. We have a Spaces lined up. I put a link in the chat there. People can come in and join in and speak. It's more of a politeness setup. You raise your hand and then you can come in and talk, and we have it set up for that. Full Wookie with a $20 super chat says, dork plus wonk live stream, the dork wonkian mating dance, honk honk. Thank you so much, Wookie, first time super chatter. That's funny. That's really good.
Love the Elvis icon there too.
Amazing. So yeah, come on over to X, formerly known as Twitter. Again, link is in the chat here. Join in, and we'll continue this conversation via mobile, because we can't set it up on computers, so it'll just be audio only. And want to try it out because it's a fun thing to do. Nux for Cup with a last minute $10 super chat saying, and that's one reason why the Liberals will stretch the election out 2 years. The list of promises the Conservatives is getting long. Many won't be fulfilled, and it could hurt them. We'll see. We'll see on that. Anyway, we're going to switch over to the Spaces over on X. Thanks, everybody, for joining us in this evening. And, of course, as always, you guys know where to go check out Northern Perspective. Go subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet so far, and we'll be in X, so you can go check out their Twitter page as well. So thank you all so very much. And we'll see you in the next one. And